All right. What I have before you is a book entitled Civil Rights Chronicle, the African American Struggle for Freedom. Now, I like to say before I start off in this book that this is not our true history going through oppression. This was what the Most High put us through when we didn't keep his laws. The oppression of the so-called white man, from the so-called white man. This is not the true history of the so-called Negroes, the so-called tribe of Judah, the Israelites. This disrupts the true history. This is the history that we have to go through when we didn't keep the Most High's commandments. So I like to go into the book of Leviticus. By the way, all praise to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai for giving us this knowledge. This is the book of Lamentations 4:17. They say, as for us, our eyes as yet failed for our vain help. In our watching, we have watched for a nation that could not save us. What is that nation? America, Babylon the Great. I'm gonna go into this book, and I'm gonna just show you the atrocities that we had to face as a nation because we didn't keep the Most High's commandments. The early struggle. This is what we faced as a people in NAACP, which was set up by the Edomites. 1960s, black leader emerged, Martin Luther King. The 1970s, Black Panthers, Huey P. Newton, Geronimo Pratt, Assata Shakur, Tupac Shakur, Mutulu Shakur. 1980s, 1990s, where I come from. So this disrupts the true history of the so-called Negroes, which are the Hebrew Israelites. When we were sold to our enemies. Now, as you see right here, you see a slave ship, which was prophesied from our forefather Moses. Find the scripture to re-utter us going into captivity with ships back into Egypt, which Egypt is a Greek word that means bondage or slavery or captivity. Okay, Deuteronomy 28:68. It say, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships by the way where I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bond man and bond woman, and no man shall buy you. So the Lord was going to send us back into Egypt. Like I say, Egypt is a Greek word. It has nothing to do with the land of Egypt. It's just a Greek word that means bondage. It's Greek. It's not even native to Africa. The language Greek and the word Egypt. Now, these are the ships that they put us on. As you see down here, it says some Africans jumped off slave ships, preferring suicide to a life of suffering many diseased. Slaves were thrown overboard so that the other slaves wouldn't become infected. So that's what they did to us. This is all the curses of not following the Most High. Alawadi Akwano, which this brother was a Hebrew from Nigeria. I got a book that goes deep into deep into the situation, deep into the history of Alawada Iquano. He was a Hebrew. He was a Hebrew Israelite, and they followed the customs of the Jews. When you go deep into the understanding. Let me go into this real quick. It's saying records left in ancient Egypt, tombs, and pyramids show that slavery existed in Africa as early as 300 BC, before the Common Era. And those slaves were the same people that were slaves over here on this side of the earth, which is America. And that proves Deuteronomy 28:68 when it's saying the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt. Remember the word Egypt means slavery or bondage. And it say records left in ancient Egypt, tombs and pyramids show that slavery existed in Africa as early as 3000 BC. So this is what we have to understand as a race. When you don't know history, you're bound to repeat it. You're bound to repeat it. Let me show you more. I don't need to explain that. Sojourner Truth. Akron, Ohio. This is what we have to go through as a nation. The affliction. Nat Turner. Is that Nat? Nat Turner. Prophet. Reading the Bible, as you see right here is the Bible. The brother was a prophet, raising up the slaves to become conscious. Harriet Tubman helped the slaves escape, and she had a Torah too, which they don't tell you about that. But Harriet Tubman, they knew they were Hebrews, man. They knew they were the Hebrews. This is the history that we had to go through as a nation, man. Torture. But we are God's chosen people. But anyway, what I want to say again, as I uttered it the first time, this disrupts the true history of us being Hebrew Israelites. All this was to make us furthermore lose our identity of being Israelites. This whole thing was a distraction